All right, welcome back. We are on part 2 of the College and Career Readiness Education Opens Doors Semester Exam Review for the fall of 2020 in Miss Brene's class. So we left off with talking about resumes and how those are helping you, present yourself to get accepted for a entrance into a college or a job position. We're going to move on to the actual interview. So hopefully that resume got you the interview. One of the first things that a lot of people have to think about is what is the appropriate type of attire or clothing to wear to a job interview. And what's going to be appropriate at a job interview is going to be professional and conservative clothes. You don't want necessarily your fanciest clothes. Like you wouldn't necessarily go put on your tuxedo or your prom dress or something like that. But you want it professional and you want it conservative. Now, there are some situations where you may show up to an interview in the work clothes that are appropriate for that job. But they would let you know that in advance. Usually an interview is having a conversation with someone and you do want to make a good impression on them. So they would let you know if you needed a different attire. Like if you were going for a job as a chef and they wanted you to cook as part of your interview, and so you needed to actually wear, chef's attire, or you're a mechanic and they wanted to see if you could fix something. But they would let you know that. So short of something like that, professional and conservative. When you're having your interview, they're going to ask you a bunch of questions, obviously. They're going to ask you things like what's an obstacle you've had and how did you overcome it, or tell them about your past jobs, or let them know what you do when you interact a difficult person that you can't get along with. They may ask you about the last book you read. They are not likely to ask you about your favorite TV show or your favorite video game. Now, the exceptions to that would be like, if you're going for a job related to television or video games, they might ask you, but most of them won't. A really useful tool when you're getting ready for a real interview is a mock interview. And a mock interview is basically just a practice interview. It's a process where someone asks you questions that they might have in a real interview, and then you practice answering those. So a live person asks you the questions like if they were interviewing them, and you answer them out loud to them just like you would to this person who would be interviewing you. That's a mock interview. So one of the next things we talked about was different types of colleges. So sometimes the type of college might dictate where we want to go. If we want to go to a really big school with lots and lots of majors and big classes, and Indiana University is a very large school with 50,000 students. It's got 150 majors. It's a big research institution. It is a public state school. Some of the classes have a lot of kids in it, but tuition is a little bit cheaper than some of the private colleges. So that type of college would be a university. If you're looking for something with smaller class sizes and you've got your major, but you can take a variety of classes other than that, you might want to look at something like a liberal arts college. They tend to be smaller. They tend to be private colleges. There may be liberal arts colleges that are public, but they tend to be private colleges, so you don't have all of the funding that's available with public colleges. But you do have smaller class sizes, and there's still a lot of courses you can take aside from your major. So if there's stuff you're really interested in, basically if you're willing to pay for it, you want to learn it, you can take the classes. That's fine. So what are our benefits to actually continuing our education and going to college after high school? Everything, all of the benefits. You get to gain some independence because you're going to school on your own. You get exposure to new ideas, new places, new people. You obviously learn because it's college, right? It's higher education. And then you get to pursue your passion. And you may learn that your passion wasn't your passion and something else is. So that's a really real possibility. You may go to school and you may decide you wanted to be a nurse, and you start taking nursing classes and you're like, yeah, this is a little hard, but that's not so bad. Then you get the next level and you have to start watching procedures or helping with patients, and then there's blood and guts, and then you throw up. And then you're like, you know what? Okay. I mean, if you can't not throw up when there's blood and guts, a medical job might not be for you. Or maybe you can have a job in the medical field, but just not like an actual nurse. Maybe there's something adjacent. You need to look what jobs are, kind of like nurses, but where people don't vomit on you. Okay. So that all of that happens when you continue education, whether it's, at a 4-year university or 2 years of college or a trade school, whichever way it is, all of those independence, new ideas, new people, new places, new thoughts, wonderful stuff. All right. When you are making goals and setting steps for reaching those educational goals, you need to set your steps based on why the education is important to you. So that's not going to be the same. If there are 30 of us in a room, there could be 30 different reasons why the education matters to us specifically. Okay. Some of us, education, we might be planning to go to school just long enough till we can actually get a job, and we're going straight into the workforce, and we are getting just enough education to get a job, and that's it. Some of us are going to go to college, and we're going to go to a program that we choose on purpose because we want a lot of money, and we are going to get that degree so that we can be in we're going to look it up and see what's the highest paying field we can think of, and that's what we're going to go to school for. Or some of us are going to pick ones where we want a lot of flexibility, in our lives and in our schedules, and we're going to want something with our job and education to facilitate that. So whatever it is, you set goals based on why the education is important to you. When you are looking at going to college, because right now, my students are middle schoolers. You guys are 12, occasionally 13. And people are going to always ask you, so what do you want to be when you grow up? And you're going to say, I don't know. And honestly, that's okay. But what we do have to do is figure it out. When you're making the choice on what to do in college or what kind of job is right for you, you might take something called a career aptitude test. So aptitudes are just kind of what things do you like or might you be good at? What things might you naturally be good at or might you naturally be drawn to? So the purpose of a career aptitude test is to help you pick your college major or pick a profession that you might be interested in. They're not ones, aptitude tests don't tell you how smart you are. They're not ones that rank you against somebody else in terms of intelligence or anything like that. It just kind of helps you identify where your interests are and maybe what type of job or education you want to pursue. When you are choosing your career, there are tons of things to consider. First one is your own interests and abilities. That kind of like that aptitude test might help with that. So you look at your own interests and abilities. You look at your desired quality of life. How do you want to live? Do you want to work a lot and make a lot of money? Do you want regular Monday through Friday hours? Do you want to travel? Do you want to make sure you have time off with your family? Do you want to work from an office? Do you want to work around people, not around people? All of that. You have to look at your quality of life, what things matter to you. But the other thing that you guys need to remember is you need to look for the demand of jobs in that career field. So there are some jobs where we need a whole bunch of people in that career field, and there are some jobs where we only need a few. So if you guys look, like I told you guys, on the Bureau of Labor Statistics Occupational Outlook Handbook, the OOH, remember OOH? The BLS.gov/OOH. Okay, if you look in the OOH, the Occupational Outlook Handbook, it will tell you Are we going to need a lot of these? Is this job growing over the next 10 years or shrinking? And then it tells you all the other stuff too, right? How much it pays, what kind of education you need. All right, so interests, abilities, demand, your quality of life, all of that you need to look at. All right. I will tell you one of the things right now that we're hearing a lot from employers over the last few years, but right now, about what kind of skills people are lacking. Lacking means what we don't have when people are coming to the workforce, are things called soft skills. So soft skills are things like being a hard worker, being a team player, having a good attitude. Those are what we call soft skills. It's not like we necessarily I can't put you guys in class and teach you how to be a good team player or teach you how to have a good attitude. I mean, I could kind of coach you along, but you have to make the choice whether you're going to work with your team. You have to make the choice on whether you're going to have a good attitude. You have to make the choice on whether you're going to work hard at something. So those are called soft skills. So things that are not soft skills would be like being good at math, being good at science. Those are actual skills you can work, you can develop. We can measure how good you are at math, right? We could all take a math test and measure how good we are at math. We could all take a test and measure how good we are at science. All right, we are going to move into talking about things that affect the cost of college. So there's a few things that, well, there's tons of things, honestly, that affect the cost of college. But so there's several things that actually are a cost in math. You have to pay for your course fees, actually pay to go to class. So that's your tuition. There's like an activity fee. You have to pay for your textbooks. Sometimes in classes that are labs, there's a separate lab fee. So there's a lot of fees. And then there's ways to pay for college. So something like a scholarship is not a college cost. That's something that could help you pay for college. Okay. I told you guys there were fees. There's activity fees, lab fees. Fees are different at all the different colleges. So that's something to look at when you're trying to decide if money's a factor in the college you go to. You need to look at that because maybe tuition is cheaper at one college, but maybe they have a lot higher fees. Or maybe one college has really low fees, or they have lab fees, but not the student activity fees. So they're different everywhere. So that's something you're going to have to pay attention to when you're evaluating the cost of college, especially if the cost is something that's going to be a significant factor in whether you go or not. Or, whether you go to that particular school. The other thing that can affect your cost of college is if you live on campus or off campus. So if you live at the school, it's going to cost more than if you live at home, right? Especially like at home with your parents. But it also might be cheaper to live at the school versus to actually have an apartment on your own off campus. So that's going to affect the cost of college for you. So you're going to have to pay attention to that. So living on or off campus can affect your cost of college. I talked about scholarships a while ago. So scholarships are a type of financial aid. And financial aid is money that's provided to students to help them pay for college. Okay, so like scholarships, grants, loans, etc. Those are all types of financial aid. So, and the financial aid can come from the federal government or your state government, like the Pell Grants. Those come from your government. They can come from the college itself. The college can offer scholarships or maybe tuition reductions or some type of grant at the college. And they can come from different private sources. There could be like 7-Eleven could have a 7-Eleven scholarship where you can apply for, and they pay $1,000 of your tuition for, next year. So it could be anyone that. It could come from the school itself, from different private sources, or from the government. One of the things you'll need to look at is if you've been accepted into different colleges and you have different financial aid packages. They're going to say, well, we can, give you this much in loans, or we can give you this much in grants, or we can give you this much in scholarships. one of the things we're going to come back when eventually you have to pay back a loan. So that's money you can use now, but it's not free right now. A grant and a scholarship are free money to you. Now they may have some like strings attached. They may say, this is your free money as long as you pass, or this is your free money as long as you take this many classes, or whatever. So there may be conditions, but once they give you the money, or they give your school the money and pay your school, then that's your money. You don't have to pay it back. So if you have a school that has a lot of scholarships and a lot in grants, that's going to give you the most free money on your package. So when you guys look at you're going to have a question example, and it's going to tell you one college gives you 10,000 in scholarships and 5,000 in grants. Another one's going to give you scholarships and loans. Another one's going to give you loans. Which one? So loans have to be paid back. So the one that's going to give you the most is always going to be the one that gives you the most in both. Free money is the scholarships and the grants. Before you're eligible for any of this free money or the loans, any type of financial aid, you're going to have to fill out a form that we shorten and call the FAFSA, F-A-F-S-A. It's the free application for federal student aid, or something very similar to that, but it's F-A-F-S-A, FAFSA. So you have to fill out the FAFSA pretty early, and the best thing to do is fill out it as early as is possible, like in, say, your senior year of high school, whatever the earliest point where it opens up for the upcoming year. Because the earlier you apply for the FAFSA, the earlier you fill out your FAFSA, the more money is going to be available to you. As soon as they basically, that's like if you were holding a poster and everybody who walked by gave you $1. Would it make more sense to start holding that poster at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and you could go all the way till midnight, or to wait until 7 o'clock in the afternoon and you could go till midnight? It makes sense to start earlier, right? And that's the same thing with the FAFSA. The earlier you turn that in, the more options on more people, more types of payments, scholarships, grants, the more it's going to be available to you the earlier you turn in that application. There is one other type that I've not mentioned right now, but that we studied in our lesson, and that was work study. So work study is financial aid too, but it's basically, it pays for there to be a job for you at the campus that will help pay for tuition. So like you could work in the campus restaurant, or you could work as a custodian, or you could work in the library or the bookstore, possibly even as a teacher's aide. But so it's a financial aid that provides funding for a campus job that then will help you pay for tuition. And a lot of times that's easier and better for people who are in college to have a job on campus than to try to go get a job off campus and have to try to work away from school. So it's more convenient in both in terms of time and resources. Your money's straight at the college. They know you're working, so it's kind of like they know you're good for it kind of thing. Or at least they're hoping so, right? They give you a job, so they're counting on you. So that is your semester exam review. Look over them. This was part 2 of 2. There is a part 1, and good luck.